Okay. Hi, this is the Young Scholars team. We're filming another episode for our Wisdom and Wine YouTube series. This is where we kind of take parents' questions, the most asked questions about development and parenthood, and break it down and answer it with our expert team. Today we're going to talk about biting, and this is really a common thing with toddlers. However, it can happen over many years over the course of brain development and everything, so we're going to break down why usually biting happens, what to do for the biter, what to do when the bitee happens. My name is Jordan. I'm the marketing director here at the school. I'm excited to share with you guys.
I'm Jen. I'm the director here at Young Scholars Academy.
I'm Sarah. I'm the infant supervisor.
Oh, I'm Meg, the child success advocate and pre-K teacher.
All right, let's roll. Okay, how do you know when your child's a biter? I wouldn't say to freak out if your child bites once. I would say, and the word biter, can I just say that's so annoying? The biter. Let's label our kids right off the bat.
The villain.
Shall we? Yeah, I mean, really, that's not it's not as evil as it sounds. I mean, they're not werewolves. They're not going around trying to necessarily hurt people. It's brain development, it's brain synapses that have been created, and it's just another form of communication. Now, is it okay? No. Clearly, we don't bite each other when we're older. If we do, it's private. So, just saying. But they're just communicating. So when you see a pattern, a developed pattern of your child reacting in that way and communicating in that way, that's when you know, and that's when you need to reach out for help if your early learning center is not already reaching out to you.
So how do you react when your child's either been bitten or bites? It's both emotional. I believe biting is an emotional thing. We think about it as a very physical thing, when I believe it's emotion. Like Miss Jen said, it's the way they're communicating, the way they're trying to get a message across. They're not just going out saying, "Ooh, I want to take a chunk out of that friend's arm today." So when your child is the biter, you're thinking what you did wrong. And oh my gosh, how did my child get this habit and stuff? When it's very developmentally appropriate for a child to bite. I'd be shocked if a parent got through toddlerhood without at least your child being bitten once or biting once. Like, it happens. I took it a lot harder when my child was the biter. Being bitten, especially knowing that it happens and it's child development, I was more like, oh no, you're not, like, you should know you've been bitten. So I think we just really respond emotionally to it, and we sort of have to take a step back and realize this is child developmentally appropriate. What can I do to help my child find another outlet for it? And how can I emotionally not make my child the victim? How can I sort of teach my child to look for signs of another one coming to bite and things like that?
I think it's definitely communication there. Again, I mean, they're trying to communicate once again. I mean, and I think we said this in every vlog that we've done. It's not about you. It's about your kid. So one of the biggest things is don't be emotional. Your kid is not biting because you didn't eat broccoli in your third trimester. Like, I promise, this is normal stuff. But yeah, I mean, and I think it's really interesting that you said, you would rather have your kid be the victim than the one that's doing the biting. And both are forms of communication. There's so many different ways and reasons why kids bite, but I just thought that was really interesting that you said that in that way. I mean, we want our kids to respond and have manners and everything. We take it as somehow they're not acting appropriately when they bite. And I know it's not okay. I mean, it really isn't okay, but it is normal. So
I think the first step, though, is that you have to check your emotions before you address your child.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
So realizing that you don't need to be angry with them. They're learning. They're trying to send out a message that I'm frustrated, I'm mad, I'm hurt, I'm sad, and they don't have any language skills right now. So we have to take that into consideration before we start addressing the biter.
For sure. I mean, that could be a reason why they're biting. Even, I mean, some kids are such feelers that they, are feeling off their parents. Some kids bite when it's transition time, they don't know what's going on. Some kids bite when Somebody's in their territory. Some kids bite because they have an oral fixation. There's so many reasons.
Because they're
And
teething and they just feel good.
if you're mom and you're totally stressed out and you're transitioning, your kid doesn't know what's next, he might bite his brother. Like, it could happen because all that energy gets built up, and biting, the actual biting movement releases pressure. And so they're feeling that pressure. Like you said, they don't have the words, and so they're physically trying to, that some kids pinch, you know? So
Yeah,
they
it's almost a
squeeze.
self-soothing type. Like we talk about
Absolutely.
self-soothing. Like she said, it relieves that tension built up in them. They sort of get a relaxed part. So it almost becomes a good feeling for them. That's why we have to find other outlets for
Yes.
them.
Yeah. So one of the biggest things you can do is communicate. Communicate with your teachers, communicate with administration, communicate with each other, communicate with your kid. Obviously communication is the best. To sit here and say that we have all the solutions, and if you do X, Y, Z, your kid will never bite again, that's not possible, because it is a case-by-case thing. It depends on your child. But the more you communicate and the more you talk, I think it's something that's really important to talk about too is your child's teacher wants to help and
Success,
wants
yeah, we want
your
to
kid to
build
be
it for
successful. ECE teachers always feel so sad and drained and spend their lunch breaks looking up writing articles,
we feel at
on the
fault.
breaks.
We feel at fault. Like,
Right.
how did we miss the cue for it?
Right.
Why was I not quick enough to prevent it?
What can I do to support
Yeah.
you?
So
Right.
we feel it's just as many emotions coming into it, and especially having to be part of both sides and explaining, hey, this is what happened. But we do want to set everybody up for success, and that's why that communication and that partnership with your child's teacher is essential.
Right. And again, it's something that they'll learn. It's something that they'll get over. Most 12-year-olds don't bite. The more words that they gain, the better off they're going to do. That's why we start with American Sign Language in our infant rooms, for basic needs. It's really funny watching little kids sign to each other, but
But it works.
It
and
works.
That's a way to communication. Like, that's the thing. A child doesn't have the words to say, get out of my space right off the bat. So when children are in their space and they are feeling sensory overload and everything, their response is to get rid of that tension and therefore bite. That's one of the biggest bite things in a toddler room. They can't say, back up, you're in my space. So
Well, and here's a big thing. Okay, this is off topic, but everybody knows now this is me, right? So, potty training a puppy. My little girl, who's going to be moving out soon, got a puppy, and she's trying to potty train her puppy. And we, being older people, my husband and I, were helping her with potty training this puppy. Instead of shaming your puppy when it has an accident, give her a treat when she goes potty outside.
Positive
And so that positive reinforcement. When a child bites, let's just say they want a toy, and there's two kids and they're battling, right? They're battling back and forth. One child bites, the other one's going to release. That is a learned behavior.
they got what they wanted.
They got what they wanted. And so you've got to follow up with positive reinforcement, or they're going to bite when they want something. They're going to replay that synapse over and over in their brain. And so you want to make sure that you're staying positive with this. If you shame your 2-year-old or your 1.5-year-old for biting, they don't know what they did. They just know that you're not happy. I mean, there's some cognitive process there, obviously.
But not enough to like that's the thing. It has to be almost an immediate response. A child's not going to remember 30 minutes from now why they're sitting out. Especially at 1.5 and 2, they're going to be like,
Right.
And it should
listen,
be
and they're going to just be, it needs to be a quick
Yep.
and a positive thing, like she said, because that bite mark did get the response they wanted. Either the child backed out of their space, gave the toy,
Right.
they released the tension. There's just a lot of beneficial, it's not the exact word I want, but body responses to that bite. So if you go out there and get mad and stuff, they're not putting 2 and 2 together. For example, you see the child in the corner, they're clearly communicating. A teacher can get the communication that they sort of want to be by themselves, that's why they seclude it. But the other children are getting in that space and everything, and usually sometimes you can, but you know, you're changing a diaper, this one over here got an owie by falling down, that child gets crowded, the child bites. Well, now that child's not crowded because the screaming child clearly went away because it hurt, and the other children are going towards that sound. Which now that child has their space back. They release the tension of being overstimulated. And as a parent, I'm not going to go in there and be like, oh my God, you bit, you go and say sorry right now. Instead, you know, I'm going to just say, hey, I heard we got a little overwhelmed today. We might have bit our friend. You know, maybe we can squeeze our stuffed animal. Especially, it needs to be a sensory thing at the young age so they can connect. Squeezing a stuffed animal, clenching your fist, giving them the physical response to release that tension again.
If it's a physical release, not a learned behavior.
And not a learned behavior.
Not a learned behavior in another way. I mean,
and that's why we don't bite
back.
Right.
Well, and we say a lot of times, we tell children all the time to use their words, but do we give them the words? You have to give your kids the words. And if you can give them 1 or 2 word statements that they can use at that age, you know, leave me alone,
walk away,
you know, something like that, you're going to empower them to not get bit, and you're going to empower the one that wants to bite to be able to say that they're not happy and do whatever it is that they need to do.
We go away from our emotions, but it's really important to give our children positive emotions. Hey, I'm sad. I'm mad. I'm telling you I'm mad, so please walk away. I'm mad, walk away. Most toddlers can get that, so have that conversation. Okay, you were mad. I get it. But next time, let's try to tell our friends to walk away. And I always told mine, bite our teeth are for food.
Not friends.
Not friends. We eat food, not friends. So it's sort of making that connection with them and having that conversation. And not that first conversation's not going to change. It needs to be repetitive conversation. Biting's not something that's going to just get fixed overnight.
Right. Well, and I think with infants, coming from an infant side, you have to be quick and responsive, but you can't give them a long conversation because they're infants. So don't bite. Biting hurts, and then we move on. You know, because they're not going to comprehend a whole conversation about biting.
Well,
but you know, we want them to know that biting hurts, but we want to do it immediately.
Right. And well, then, you know, sometimes people try to make things longer because we, as adults, make it into something bigger. You know, if your kid has bit, you know, 4 or 5 times, I promise they're not going to be a cannibal. I actually really try to work with families here. I remember one kid in particular was really a struggle, like really, I mean, and I, years and years of doing this, and my piece of paper says I know what I'm doing with child development, you know, and really struggled with this kid for like 6 months. He just would have biting incidents. I tracked him, and you know, is it this time of day? Is it transition time? Was he tired? Is he orally fixated? I mean, it took us 6 months, but we figured it out. And you know, funny little side note with that child. We have trick-or-trunks here. There are events where kids go around trick-or-treating in our trunks, and it's really cool. Well, that year he showed up in a Dracula costume. And I mentioned it to his parents, like, really? And they were like, wow, we didn't even think of that. And I'm like, ah! So it was really funny. And he's doing well, living in California. Great kid. I think he's in 3rd, 4th grade now. So stick with it. You don't have to give up. It can be frustrating. It can be because of all the emotions that are wrapped around it. But if you can just remember that it's just a form of communication and it can be fixed, if you stay calm, then you'll be fine. You'll be fine. They always grow out of it.